Today on Inquirer. On his second day in Brussels, President Bongbong Marcos Jr. participates in the 10th ASEAN-EU Business Summit. House Speaker Martin Romualdez wants President Bongbong Marcos to certify the passage of the controversial Maharlika Investment Fund bill as urgent. ADB raises 2022 Philippines economic growth forecast to 7.4%. And President Bongbong Marcos to veto 2 to 3 items in 2023 national budget, according to DBM. Roughly 70 billion pesos realigned in next year's budget. Good evening. On his second day in Brussels, President Bongbong Marcos Jr. participated in the 10th ASEAN-EU Business Summit. Fellow leaders from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and European Union were also in attendance. The summit serves as an avenue to hold discussions on issues concerning both regional organizations, which include the global and the regional security challenges, sustainable development, and economic cooperation, among other things. During the summit, Marcos delivered his closing keynote, highlighting the importance of public-private partnerships in strengthening global and regional trade and investments.
The discussions undertaken during the day will not only bring new impetus for both sides to bolster a sustainable trade and investment while opening ways to fast-track the implementation of the EU's Indo-Pacific strategy.
The President also met with Brussels airport officials who agreed to work on mounting direct flights between Manila and Brussels. Brussels Airport Company Chief Executive Officer Arnaud Feist said the Manila-Brussels direct flight would be a win-win for both countries. Meanwhile, during his meeting with international maritime employers and various ship owners in Brussels, Marcos ordered the creation of an advisory board to avert possible job losses of Filipino seafarers. This after the EU flagged the Philippines for deficiencies in local seafarer training and education. In other news, Marcos was set to meet with the media early Wednesday morning, Manila time. However, the president opted to skip the press briefing as he caught a cold. Temperatures in Brussels dropped to -3 degrees. House Speaker Martin Romualdez faced the media on behalf of the president. Earlier in the day, Marcos apologized for his hoarse voice to officials of top European companies during a luncheon meeting. House Speaker Martin Romualdez wants President Bongbong Marcos to certify the passage of the controversial Maharlika Investment Fund bill as urgent. In a press briefing in Brussels, Romualdez said that the president should certify the bill as urgent for exciting instances such as talks in Davos about the sovereign wealth fund being passed through the House of Representatives. In a separate statement from the office of Romualdez, it was noted that over 75% of lawmakers in the House of Representatives said they were going to co-author House Bill number 6608, a proposal to create the Maharlika Investment Fund. To pass a bill in the third reading, a measure needs to get a majority vote or more than half of the lawmakers present. And in case a bill is vetoed by the president, it would need a 2/3 vote from both chambers of Congress. The 250 number already surpasses the numbers needed for both circumstances. The Philippine economy is forecast to grow by 7.4% in 2022, according to the Asian Development Bank. The ADB now expects the Philippines' gross domestic product to grow by 7.4% in 2022, better than its 6.5% forecast last September. The forecast was raised as employment data improved and tourism recovered thanks to the lifting of COVID-19 mobility restrictions. The growth in the Philippines will be at the high end of the range compared to its Southeast Asian neighbors, according to the ADB. However, Philippine growth in 2023 is now expected to be lower at 6% from 6.3% previously. The lower 2023 forecast was due to risks that include inflation stickiness, further increases in interest rates, and a sharper than expected slowdown in GDP growth in advanced countries. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will veto 2 to 3 items in the 2023 General Appropriations Bill, according to Department of Budget and Management Secretary Amena Pangandaman. Pangandaman noted the realignment of roughly 70 billion pesos in the bicameral approved national budget for next year. The President is set to sign the 2023 GABA this Friday, December 16. At the weekly kapihan sa Manila Bay Forum, the DBM chief mentioned the budget realignment is set to prioritize education, social assistance to senior citizens, and transportation, specifically the EDSA carousel.
From what I know po, there's amount of roughly 70 billion that they realign. Upon our initial analysis and checking of the numbers, most of it naman went to our priority.
She then pointed out that the Bicameral Conference Committee had approved the confidential and intelligence funds. To recall, some lawmakers and observers protested the CIFs for the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education, which are being helmed by Sara Duterte, calling it unprecedented.
During the bicameral committee, while in the Senate, parang they removed it, pero during the ratification, it was restored. And all of those were in the NEP already.
The government warns online sellers of smuggled onions that charges might also be filed against them for enabling the proliferation of illegally sourced agricultural produce. Department of Agriculture Deputy Spokesperson Rex Esto Perez advised consumers not to purchase onions being sold by online retailers. Esto Perez said that buyers may be considered as accomplices once caught with evidence. The DA would also revoke the permits of the retailers found guilty of selling onions in the markets. Huge volumes of white onions were recently confiscated by the DA and the Bureau of Customs from port and warehouse inspections. The DA initially considered selling the confiscated white onions through the Kadiwa stores, but eventually decided against it after phytosanitary tests revealed that the seized 100,000 kilograms of white onions contained E. coli, making them unsafe for human consumption. Although the government assured the public of an ample supply of onions, the DA noticed the continued spike in its retail prices. Alamin natin ang mga mainit na balita sa mundo ng showbiz kasama si Ervin Santiago ng Bandera. Ervin?
Hi Neil at sa lahat ng mga kabandera natin all over the universe, ito na nga ang latest Bandera Chika. All I want for Christmas is love life. Yan ang sagot ni Gov't Isidro nang tanungin natin siya kung ano ang isang bagay na wini-wish niya ngayong darating na Pasko. Diretsahang sinabi ng kapamilya actress na sana kay magkaroon na siya ng partner ngayong holiday season dahil nakakaramdam na rin daw siya ng kalungkutan kapag nag-iisa. Pero mabilis ding nilinaw ni Gov't na magiging choosy pa rin siya sa pagpili ng kanyang magiging jowa at inisa-isa pa nga niya ang mga qualities na hinahanap niya sa isang lalaki.
Actually, I'm happy being alone, but di ba, parang masaya rin ng may kasama.
So darating din pala yung moment.
Oo, hindi ko naman siya talagang actively hinahanap. It would be nice. It would be pleasant. It would be a gift.
Kailan dumating yung ganung feeling na parang, I'm ready.
Actually, wala lang. Parang siguro maybe the holiday season, kaya medyo nararamdaman ko yung lungkot. Konti lang naman. Pero pag iniisip mo na baka naman hindi binibigay sa'yo dahil hindi ka pa handa, actually parang okay pa naman ako being alone. But then, it would be nice.
Pero choosy ka pa rin sa akin.
Oo, at this point, I will not compromise. I will not compromise. Kasi okay naman nga ako.
So if ever, ano nila hinahanap mo?
Ha?
Ano nila ang hinahanap mo? If ever ka magiging partner?
Basta kind. Basta mabait. Okay siya sa akin. Okay ako sa kanya, okay siya sa akin. I don't have to change.
At yan ang Bandera Chika natin for today. Thanks Neil!
Maraming salamat, Ervin. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. It's 11 days before Christmas. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.